100% capacity.
How about that?
You gotta love Thor and Iron Man. The Avengers absolutely crushing the box office records here domestically this weekend. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. Welcome to Lunch Break. Also on the show today, a grueling job hunt awaits college graduates, how it could affect their fortunes for years to come. And Glenn Beck, he's testing his publishing clout with 10 ebooks coming up. We'll tell you about that as well. I'm Wendy Bounds. Welcome to the show. Let's start this morning with the Avengers. They absolutely crushed domestic box office records. Over $200 million in ticket sales. We got Chris Farley right here beside us. Chris, what have the Avengers got that Spidey and Batman don't?
Well, what they did is they had a really good lead-in. I mean, they had all these movies like The Hulk, like Iron Man 2, basically operating as feature-length ads for the Avengers when it finally came out. They had little clips in each of those movies sort of saying, come watch the Avengers,
right.
Here's a taste of what the plot will be. And so that helped feed into this movie's success this weekend. Also, they were smart and opened it up to the world first. So the world was tweeting about it, was talking about it, was buzzing about it on social media, and then they opened it up in North America after it had gained momentum. And also they had some critics on their side. I mean, this film, usually event films, they're terrible. Transformers, you can't suffer through these things. But this movie has 93% positive ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, A+ cinema score from people who've actually seen the film. It did get some mixed reviews. Obviously, you know, Joe Morgenstern, our own Pulitzer Prize-winning movie critic, gave it a mixed review. But for the most part, it got really positive word of mouth. So when you have an event film that critics actually like, that spells box office success.
And let's put it in perspective. I mean, it's #1 over some films who have also done blockbuster sales opening weekends. Harry Potter, the final movie, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Dark Knight, Hunger Games, Spider-Man 3. This was even leaps and bounds almost 30 million above the #2. Incredible ticket sales. The theater I went to, lines were crushed. People, you talk about the IMAX theaters. What happened there? There weren't even enough seats, were there?
Right. IMAX said they could have done even better, but they just ran out of seats. And having it on these IMAX screens, having it on 3D screens where they actually have to pay a couple dollars extra to see it, that also helped to boost the overall grosses of the film. You know, not every film is in 3D. I mean, The Hunger Games did great business its first weekend, but it wasn't in 3D, so they weren't able to charge the premium that this movie, The Avengers, was able to do. And there are more films like this on the way. I mean, the end of the film, I'm not giving anything away here, but it kind of hints that there's more to come, another villain they'll have to fight. You got Iron Man 3 that's in the works. You got Thor 2 that's in the works. So more of these superhero films are in the works, and of course they're all going to feed into whatever Avengers sequel they end up announcing.
Now, one thing I was wondering over the weekend is it's such a joy to see all of these characters on the same screen battling it out, both emotionally and mentally with each other, but also with the villains. I wonder now if we're going to go to theaters and see one superhero, and that's just not going to be enough for us anymore. Have they just set the bar so high that we're going to want to see many caped people with multiple powers?
Well, I think the important thing here wasn't so much the special effects even and the multiple characters on the screen. It really was the acting, oddly enough, because they got great actors like Robert Downey Jr.,
right,
like Scarlett Johansson. What we saw on the screen wasn't ridiculous. It didn't seem over the top because these actors were able to ground it with some kind of credible emotion, and that's what really made it work. That's why people were giving it an A+ in cinema score. That's why the critics were able to set it, recommend it. That's why a lot of other superhero films where the acting isn't quite at the high level, like Daredevil. Remember that film?
Absolutely.
Why films like that didn't work, and that's why a movie like John Carter
did not.
Wasn't able to get across to critics or to audiences.
So The Dark Knight that's coming out this summer, The Dark Knight Rises, that still could have a chance, you think, to do quite well?
That will probably do very well. The buzz on that is very high. That's the completion of this Batman saga. And we also have a new Spider-Man movie coming out as well. So there are lots of superhero films that are in the works, and they'll all be shooting for this record now that the Avengers is set.
Now let me ask you this. I was sort of having this debate with someone in terms of the composition of people in the audience. In the theater I was in, which is in the middle America, it's not a New York City theater, there was